Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Jedi Alliance, where we're going to be focused on the international effect of Star Wars, as well as some of the biggest news of the week. Also, we're going to be joined by StarWars.com writer Kristian Simpson to talk about his article on Finding Nia Num. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Jedi Alliance.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Jedi Alliance, the celebration of the greatest saga ever told. I am one of your hosts, the internet's Mark B. Donica, joined as always by the man who apparently went to the same Target as me last night, Mr. John Rocha.
That's right. I totally did. I totally did. How's it going, everybody? I'm doing great. I'm very happy to come on today. I'm very happy to talk Star Wars. Looking forward to it. Had a very, very busy weekend, so I want to have a little bit of fun talking Star Wars.
I'm with you, too. We're a little bit barren for toys because they're currently all boxed because I'm moving.
Yes.
And I decided to put them all in one box that would stay unpacked for some reason. But actually, really quick, wanted to thank some of you eagle-eyed fans out there. We talked about the IG-88 pop figure.
Yes.
A lot of people contacted me over Twitter saying, here, look, there's things, there's that. I got one. And you should get one too, because they're still really cheap on eBay. They're only like $20.
What?
Yeah.
Done. All right.
So yeah, that will one of these days we'll just do an IG-88 special where we have all the toys and we just talk about how cool is this robot.
That would be the greatest thing ever.
It would be pretty great. So we're going to be joined soon by Kristian Simpson, who's a writer from StarWars.com. But first, we're going to go to news from the HoloNet. To start off, only a couple of weeks ago, we talked about how the Rogue One prequel comic was going to be released by Marvel. It was going to be a 3-issue lead-in comic series.
Yeah.
And it's just apparently gone.
Yeah.
No word from Marvel. It disappeared from the slate. And there's a big leak going around right now that we don't address. We don't address leaks, so if you know of the leak, keep it to yourself. I wonder if releasing all of the information that they did about Rogue One in said leak caused them to just dump the project.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because, but it's a lot of manpower that went into this thing. It was just about to be released. So, I mean, there's obviously probably, pages and drawings and scripts all written out for this series. So it was really shocking to have that go down. I think you're right. I think the leak absolutely had everything to do with it because they're already backtracking on the leak. They didn't anticipate the leak. So this wasn't an orchestrated quote unquote leak like you saw with Deadpool. This is legitimately something they didn't anticipate coming out early and having it broadcast the way it is, and I think they're nervous that anything they allude to now will be connected to the leak and people will be able to connect the dots and spoilers will go rampant before the movie even comes out because we're still 6 months out or 5 months out of the movie.
Yeah.
So you still, or actually no, 6 or 7 months out of the movie. We want it to be, they want to preserve the surprises and anything that's involved in the movie. If you start guessing the whole plot, then it'll just it'll ruin a lot of the fanfare.
Yeah, so unfortunately, a lot of folks may have lost their this current project. Marvel's a big studio that has a lot of different stuff for it, so hopefully this may turn into a Rogue One aftermath.
Yeah.
Prologue or no, what is epilogue?
Epilogue.
I think that would be a smart idea to use these same assets.
Do you think they'll change the story? Do you think they'll go back and well, let's do some adjustments on the fly? But that's really hard to do with comics. I know a bunch of friends who are comic book artists from Marvel and DC, and it is difficult to do last minute changes.
Well, yeah, it depends on how much was done.
Yeah.
Like when they had the announcement, they didn't have all of the covers, they didn't have anything. So if they were still writing it, I still think it's within purview of being able to be changed.
Okay.
It's possible. Right. Also, one of our favorite characters from the most recent expanded universe, Sienna Rey. I say Rey. Do you say Ree?
I say Ree, but I'll take Rey if that's how you're supposed to say it.
I don't know. I say Sienna Rey for some reason. Added to the Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars X-Wing Miniatures game. So it is our first piece of official art for this character. And I think the sky's the limit for her. There's also a lot of other art that got released over this past weekend that we'll share in the oncoming weeks.
Yeah.
For some other in-book characters, but because this one has some distance from the initial book release, thought it'd be okay to show this version of that character. What character do you want to see next?
Well, Ransom Casterfo.
Yes, it was put to bed.
Yes. Sorry, Claudia Gray tweeted us in a response and tweeted us like the specific phonetic pronunciation of Ronan's name, of Ransom's name. So I personally would love to see that. I would love to see Depa Billaba, Kanan's Jedi Master, because she's rescued by Mace Windu at an early age. She becomes a member of the Jedi High Council. And I would like to see Dr. Aphra. I know I'm kind of stretching the boundaries here with you when you say books, because I'm including the comic books. But Dr. Aphra was awesome, a companion to Vader. Really kind of humanized Vader in that comic series that they did with him. She held her own with him, and she even like activates 000 and BT-1, those two crazy torturing droids, that kind of stuff I'd love to see. What about you?
I liked. We're going to get to it later in Mind Probe, but Talon Karrde.
Yeah,
I think if he got reintroduced into the franchise in some way, shape, or form, even if just by name, or if they say the head of the smugglers organization, or I'm braining out right now because I've only read one story with that character in it. And so going in and seeing his entire history just exploded my brain. So I'm still going through a lot of that. And I would say Thane, is the natural next one, right? Because we did get some characters from Bloodline. They got some art this week too, which I believe, because I'm friends with another writer from StarWars.com who she was tweeting a lot of the different art that came out. And brain, too many names.
What'd you think of this though? I thought the picture was. Obviously tough, badass, all that, but also very sexy. Like it was a very sexy shot, and I immediately thought of the actress from Walking Dead, the African American actress from Walking Dead, Sasha. I think who plays Sasha. I think that's the character's name.
I don't want Walking Dead. Okay.
I think her name's Sasha, but she's there, and she has a very much the same kind of look, and I loved it because it's a powerful shot. It's shot from below, so she already has that feeling of being stronger and bigger, and just
it's the confidence too.
Exactly, and the dynamics of the background are very powerful as well. That with the TIE fighter there, so it's very cool.
The sense of the way that her arm is resting on the TIE fighter exudes a sense of comfortability, where this is my ship. And also the fact that it's an interceptor does wonders for me too, because that's always been one of my favorite ships.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree with you. All right, so this is really big. This is an exclusive. We have a new trailer for a future Star Wars anthology film. This is an exclusive for Jedi Alliance. So let's take a look at this and enjoy it, because this is huge for us.
That's awesome.
Okay. So for those of you listening on audio, this is the fan film Darth by Darth West. Cary Grant, the master of looking at stuff. I will say that the first minute and a half of this is literally just him looking at fun Star Wars stuff.
Right.
But this is a recreated scene from North by Northwest where Cary Grant's being chased down by a plane. Classic scene in popped into the Star Wars universe. There's the shot.
That's the shot.
That, oh my god.
Right there, the tie right behind him.
Absolutely beautiful. So okay, we can cut that for now. Does this piece of wonderful does this piece of fan video prove that Star Wars could work in any film genre?
Well, I think so. That's just the gentleman Fabrice Mathieu did it, and this. I'm sure he's probably limited in the amount of technology he'd have. Right? You give this to ILM and see what they could do with it. It's just amazing what you can make it work. I mean, that's a Hitchcock film. It's one of the slower of his thrillers. Yet it's a great, fantastic classic film. The combination of both, the fact that it works the way it does, is super amazing. And so, yeah, I could see Star Wars working in any genre because of the love we have for it.
Because we also do we have a brain. The idea that this thriller works so well with just one TIE fighter. We've only seen TIE fighters in fleets, and as Obi-Wan says, they really are away from a space station. They're really on their own.
Right.
So if you make it about a TIE fighter, or if you make it about one person, if you just make it about a smaller, not even like a smaller group, but if you make it about two people, if you make it about one outcast, I think that you could make a huge leap in what we consider Star Wars films.
Yeah, we've seen it already in smaller parts in those films. We've seen Star Wars go straight drama. We've seen Star Wars go thriller, political thriller at times. We've seen Star Wars go comedy. We've seen it obviously do sci-fi, obviously do fantasy, and all these different genres. It can touch all these different genres. I think that's why it's so effective, why it's lasted so long, because it touches the interests of people from many different areas and walks of life and many genres that they enjoy. And you see that play out all the time. And the fact that Rogue One looks like a completely different type of film that you're talking about, a more quieter film, a more centralized film between, political forces, but also like one or two people. Yes, there's a group of people, but it's being led by one person and they're going after one thing. And you see that very, very powerfully.
I think the suspense is going to be super strong in that. So we're actually going to skip our next story about the Star Wars fireworks in Florida. If you're in Florida, June 17th, there are going to be Star Wars fireworks. That's the story. Because we have on the line Mr. Kristian Simpson from StarWars.com.
Yes.
You're a big friend of his, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I am very happy we've got Kristian on the line. Kristian, he's a British actor, writer, and composer. He portrayed starfighter pilot Bravo 6, Lieutenant Gavin Sykes in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. He also served as Hayden Christensen's stand-in during the filming of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, as well as playing the actions of the female BD-3000 luxury droid. Hello. And in Star Wars 7, The Force Awakens, Simpson voiced numerous aliens and stormtroopers, as well as co-producing Nien Nunb's dialogue. In 2014, he became a contributor to StarWars.com. He wrote this amazing 2-part article about trying to find the original voice actor for the voice of Nien Nunb, and he was kind enough to come on our show today to talk about it. Welcome, Kristian, to Jedi Alliance.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you guys?
Well, great. Fantastic. How are you doing?
Very well, yeah. Well, everything's going very well here, except you pronounced Nien Nunb's name wrong.
There we go. Clarify
That's
that.
what we're looking for. We're also looking for, one of the fans asked us how to pronounce the actor's name properly.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so the alien is Nien Nunb.
Okay.
Like number 9. And Kipsang Rotich, you pronounce that Kipsang Rotich.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
Does that clarify?
Yes, that clarifies a lot. So this article had me spellbound when the part 1 came out.
Okay.
Because I'm unfamiliar with Nien Nunb's voice actor in general. You see the credit in the film, go, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
I wonder who that actor is.
Right. Yeah.
And little did we know the actual excursion that Star Wars as a franchise went on to maintain the level of continuity between even like a small background character. So tell us about how this journey started.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's incredible, really, the attention to detail. But it started. I bumped into Matthew Wood, who as you know, is works for Skywalker Sound and was responsible for most of, if not all of the sound, along with David Ackord in The Force Awakens. And I bumped into him at Celebration recently in Anaheim, and we got talking, and he was talking about a project that was coming up that he may need me to come and work on. And of course, inside you are, on tenterhooks. You're like, oh, okay. But on the outside, you're trying to stay very cool. Sure, Matt. Yeah, no, I'm happy to help. Schedule permitting. Whatever.
The standard actor reaction, yes. Don't show too much, but be excited, right?
Yeah, play it cool. But he knows what a big fan I am of Star Wars. So when that time came, it turned out that project was The Force Awakens. And when we actually got into the studio, which was at 20th Century Fox here in LA, he happened to mention during a break from recording that they were trying to find the guy that played Nien Nunb, that did the voice. And he couldn't find him anywhere. And I said, what's his name? He said, Kipsang Rotich. I was hoping it would ring a bell from a convention or something, but it didn't. And I went away and thought about this, because he'd mentioned this guy had not been credited in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Can you believe such a pivotal character and that distinctive laugh and everything that we grew up with?
Absolutely.
So, it's kind of like that laugh. And I just thought about it, and I thought, we've got to find this guy, And Matthew Wood was obviously incredibly busy. They had, I think, about a month or two till the movie came out. So I took on the task.
Wow.
I asked Matthew for as much info as he could find. And he got in touch with Ben Burt. And Ben had originally worked with Kipsang. It turned out he was an intern on First Skywalker Sound during the Return of the Jedi time. And so Ben had got him in as a kind of student to just record some stuff in his native dialect of Haya. He's from Nairobi, Kenya.
Right.
And what you hear is unedited Haya. It's also known as Kikuya, and it's completely unedited. It's pulled straight off the tapes that Kipsang did.
Wow.
Now, I won't give away all of the twists and turns in the story, but
Right.
that's how we got started down that path, yeah.
Well, can you tell us what was it about this that motivated you? Because obviously you've been very ingrained in Star Wars, and you mentioned how when you were, you had all these figures and ships and toys and all this that you showed to your nephew. Is this something that you just felt instinctively like you had to do this in that moment, and like what kept you going? Because from what the article, and we don't want to give away too much, there were a lot of roadblocks that you confronted. A lot of times where people would have been like, "No, this is as far as it can go. I guess I don't have the time to keep pushing this or keep trying to find this person." Like, what kept you going through this?
In one word, I could say Yoda.
Okay.
We all know his classic line of "try not, do or do not."
Yes.
And I've really carried that forward, as a lot of us fans have in life. And I don't take no for an answer. So if there is something that it is right that it happens, I'm the type of person that will continue until it happens. And I see those hurdles as challenges. It started really, though, when I was, I guess, 7 years old. My parents would buy me action figures. One of them was Nien Nunb, and I lost that figure, I guess, when I was in my teens. Stuff goes up in the attic in storage or whatever. But you don't lose the heart of that. You don't lose those facts and the things your parents bought you and the stuff you played with as kids. And when you have this opportunity, and you know that you're the kind of person that can drive things through. I've always been pretty good at PI work, private detective stuff, tracking down long lost friends, that kind of thing.
Wow.
It just all came together with Yoda's advice and felt right. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to try this. I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
Let's find him. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly highlighted in an article that the testament to that, because you, as I was saying, there's so many moments where most people would have stopped, and you keep going. And I think, and for just a little bit of spoiler, like Kristian and I we work together at a particular theme park doing a particular part. And I have seen his tenacity, his desire for answers in action. So I'm not surprised to hear Kristian's response to that he keeps going until he gets what he needs, and that he does not take no for an answer. And that is a positive trait, especially in a situation like this.
Oh, definitely. And I'd also say, just in terms of your writing ability too, this story flowed with equal intrigue to Bloodline. You know, like this was a different type of story, but was just as important, where you know the ending, but you're still biting your nails wondering what's going to happen next. Yeah.
Thank you. I can't take all the credit. I had some help from Matthew Wood, and he put in some great quotes and behind the scenes stuff as well. But I am a writer as well, so it's sort of a combination of passions, isn't it? That's how you've got to approach life, I think, is find all the things you love and find a way to formulate them together and for a positive cause. If that makes you happy and makes other people happy, then it's a win-win. So thank you, though. I really appreciate that feedback.
Of course.
Yeah. What's great about the two-part article, too, and I really encourage our fans to go and read it, and it's a two-part. It's so interesting and engrossing. And the finale, the ending, there are two levels to the ending, which are really positive all around, too. The effects, what happens, the effect that it has within this man's family, and what have you. And I think that all of that speaks to the fandom that people have about Star Wars. It's a special saga, it's a special property, it's a special franchise for that reason. There is a certain level of extra humanity that people feel and employ and trigger when they do stuff Star Wars related or dedicate themselves to something Star Wars related. And I think your article really proves that, Kristian. It's such a fantastic read.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and that is what Star Wars is about, isn't it? It's about the light side, and it's about, good overcoming evil. And there is a lot of evil obstacles and hurdles in our path on this journey to finding Nine Numb. But hopefully, no spoilers, but hopefully the light side wins out.
Yeah,
the light side will prevail. But that actually goes into, and we'd like to keep you on the line for just a little bit longer, because we're talking about the international effect of Star Wars, whether that be, like you mentioned, having Kikuya featured as Nine Numb's dialect, as well as different parts of different world cultures, the Japanese influence, feudal Japanese influence on the Empire, and certain looks and certain, even the name Jedi comes from a Japanese phrase, and then how all of that becomes its own culture that permeates throughout the world. So when you were growing up, what made you initially become a Star Wars fan?
Wow, does anyone really remember? It's something. It's an awakening, isn't it? Just to play on the movie title. Yeah. I was 7. It was the first time I'd been to a cinema, a movie theater, as you crazy Americans call them.
We're pretty crazy.
And so this is back home in London. My father took me to see The Empire Strikes Back. That was my first Star Wars movie theater experience. And as a 7-year-old, presented with this new viewing dimension, and the AT-ATs and snow speeders, I mean, what's not to love when you're 7?
Right.
And that is such a pivotal age, I think, as well. I think about when I'll introduce my kids to Star Wars, and 6 till 8 seems to be that age when the mind is like this absorbent sponge, taking in these things to the fullest effect. And I'm certainly a bigger Star Wars fan than some. So it's something to do with that, being the right age and the family connection, your father taking you to see these things. And I fell in love instantly.
Yeah, it's very related to sports. Like generations upon generations pass down their love of sports teams to their sons, to their daughters, what have you, and it gets repeated multiple times, in many generations. And I think Star Wars is becoming that, or has become that already for at least 3 to 4 generations. You
Yeah, I
know,
would agree
people
with that.
passing it down. And I think you're right, Kristian. 6 to 8 seems to be about the right time. I'm going insane because my nephew is about to turn 5, so I still have to wait another year or two to experience.
Just a bit too young.
Yeah, just a bit too young. But he's a massive Stormtrooper and Darth Vader fan, so he's still aware of the property. He loves the toys. He's into it. He hasn't seen the movies yet, only snippets and little parts, but nothing overall because of how young he is. I wanted to ask you. I went to see Elstree 1976, that new documentary that's out now about.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you aware? Now you grew up in London, so were you aware of this being shot in your home country, in your home area? Like, was that something that you knew growing up, or people around you knew growing up?
Certainly people around me. I cottoned on after Empire Strikes Back, obviously. So for when they were making Return of the Jedi, or Revenge of the Jedi,
As it was originally called. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I remember walking around saying, "Oh yeah, Revenge of the Jedi will be out soon," because that was the buzz at the time.
Right.
So I was certainly aware of it then, but I wasn't aware of the locality. To me, it was Hollywood. It was, you know, this faraway place from London. Ridiculous that I'm now living in LA, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, to me, it was, you know, movie magic land, wherever that was. I had no idea that it was a 30-minute drive from my house.
Wow.
From West London to North London. Yeah, and I remember, so when the special editions came out, and I became very aware that these things had been made at Elstree Studios, which is in North London. Yeah. I remember foolishly calling the studios as a naive 19-year-old or something, 20 years after the films had left, probably. And I was asking, you know, hey, I'm a really big Star Wars fan. Hey, Elstree Switchboard, are there any props left over that I could come and get?
Oh, wow.
You know? Wow. I don't think I phrased it exactly like that, but my intrigue was, you know, is there like a warehouse storage somewhere where they've kept these things?
I mean, you'd keep Star Wars stuff, right? Star Wars.
And they broke it down. They, you know, at the time they threw it in dumpsters.
Oh,
yeah.
So
that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what you do. So when I did get to work on the prequels, there I became aware of these dumpsters, and you would see. I mean, I'm not kidding. The ship from the beginning of A New Hope, the name escapes me, but you guys know.
Yeah.
Yavin 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the white interior that they recreated for Revenge of the Sith, they struck that down after one day of shooting. They got the scenes they wanted, and it's sitting in dumpsters. And I then had the flashback to the call that I'd made 15 years earlier, or whatever it was, 10 years earlier, to Elstree, and I'm thinking, I'm here now, and there's that dumpster, and there is the interior of the ship.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how Star Wars is about these ever-increasing circles, and all these patterns that seem to connect. And I delve into that in a few of my other articles on StarWars.com about those connections and incredible coincidences like that, but even more so that I came across working on the films. So there is definitely something about Star Wars that binds us all and connects.
It's the Force, man.
Yeah.
And before everybody crucifies me, it's the Tantive 4. I know.
Oh,
Excuse me, I misspoke. But you mentioned that you thought, like, since this is Hollywood, these were made wherever Hollywood is.
Yeah.
Do you think that Star Wars feels any distinctly American at all, just because it's a product of an American studio?
I don't think that it has a feeling of either, really. To me, that was really just that I knew that films that appeared on a movie screen were made in Hollywood, but the feel of it, I mean, I hope I'm not imagining this, but it seems to be so unique and removed. You know, not only the locations, they'll use Norway, they'll use Ireland, places that you've probably never been and don't recognize as Hollywood, certainly, but the voices, you know, it's got the British, the American accents thrown in there together, and now Scottish in The Force Awakens, of course. So no, I think it supersedes all that. It's sort of its own galaxy, and my goodness, aren't we thankful for that?
Yeah.
Kanja Club. Yeah.
Kanja Club.
I agree with you. Like when I first thought I mean, it's an American production, but we've got all the different alien cultures. It really does feel like a world that we can recognize.
Yeah.
So I think that everybody's been to a foreign place or a place that they're not comfortable with, that maybe just down the street or maybe in another like completely another country. Where you're just surrounded by people that you don't understand anything, and you're a little bit scared, but you end up finding your inner strength to become this person that everybody respects, and it's Star Wars represents the journey within all of us. In like how weird that it can hit everybody like this movie's for me when it's a mass marketed product that's supposed to be for, well, this we'll shoot in this country, which will appeal to this market, and then this, and then like the science behind it. It's one of the few movies, and there are the few franchises where all of that melts away, and you go, I'm ready to go to another world.
Yeah.
And that's the magic that George Lucas has brought us. And that vision, I mean, can you imagine having that vision and that determination back in 1976 to bring those worlds to that many people and succeeding? I mean, it's just incredible.
I agree. You mentioned some of the different shooting locations of the franchise that we're familiar with, and we have so much more to look forward to for Episode 8. They're looking at places in Mexico. They're shooting in Ireland. It's really becoming a place or a film where people can go, maybe I don't necessarily recognize that, but I know that ocean. Yeah. I know that this and that. Have any locations that we see in the Star Wars universe suggest any place in our world, do you think?
While you were saying that, something just as a side note to that occurred to me, which, I mentioned I touch upon these coincidences, and I should mention, I haven't written about this, but it's kind of weird. But back in school in England, I went to school in Esher in Surrey, which is southwest London, and our school had houses, which is where the Harry Potter houses idea came from. Right. We had, instead of Gryffindor and all that, we had Esher, Longcross, Radnor, and Norwood. And I was in Longcross house, and I read an article yesterday that they're filming the Millennium Falcon apparently at Longcross Studios.
Wow.
It's just down the road from my old school.
You could probably get in. You could probably use that. I mean, you've got several credits that you could probably use. Would just be like, "Yo, Castle Longcross," like, or "House Longcross." Like, just do it.
What makes you think I haven't? But those little coincidences, it's so weird when those things tie back. There was one more. There was a bit more to the article, the 9num article that we're discussing.
Yeah, please.
That was actually cut out, and I may as well give you some of the cutscenes.
Sure.
So this was a little side note about Matthew Wood. So when I was growing up, and I was a kid playing with the 9num figure with my friends, I would frequent this town called Woking in Surrey. It's just down the road from Longcross and Esher, where I went to school, and where those studios are. And I then noticed Matthew Wood updated his Facebook. You have the places I've lived. Mm-hmm. Turned out he'd lived in Woking at the time when I was 13, 12, the time that I was in Woking, playing with these toys with my friends and watching Star Wars. He was down the road, and he said he used to hang out in another town called Esher. That's where I went to school.
Wow.
So Matthew and I figured we probably crossed paths at some time when we were 12. But the weirdest thing of all, those two friends that I used to hang out with, one of them still lives in Woking. Uh-huh. His last name was Wood, and my other friend's name was Matthew. So I was hanging out with Matthew and Mr. Wood in Woking, while Matthew Wood was in Woking.
That's some weird, like, Will of the Force stuff, man.
It's some strange voodoo force wielding then, George Lucas. I don't know what you were up to, but yeah, somehow it drew all of us in, and we're still working together now.
It's ironic because he has no Harry Potter connections at all. I've seen none. It's all Star Wars.
Only Star Wars.
Only Star Wars.
I mean, it binds us, really.
Oh, yes.
Really hard to not...
Didn't answer your question at all, but
And no, that's a really fun anecdote, and we appreciate it. We appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Do you have any more time to spare, or do you have to get going?
Yeah, I have a couple minutes.
Couple minutes? Okay.
Let's chat.
Okay, so we've already said that Star Wars itself feels like a world project instead of really like a country project. Is there anything looking maybe a little bit more appealing to the business side of it? We know that Disney's trying to really appeal to the Asian market. China was huge. They were trying to appeal heavy to Korea, Vietnam. South Korea and Vietnam, actually, I found out, were the only two countries where Star Wars wasn't #1 at the box office at all, due to two other homegrown Korean films.
Okay.
So
is the interview #1 in South Korea?
Not at exactly the same time, but I'm pretty sure that stayed in cinemas a little bit longer, just out of general interest.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you think can be established in the Star Wars universe to appeal to folks of those countries, to make them a part of this experience?
It's a very interesting question, and I'm sure that is a small part of it. I think if it were me, if I were directing, I think the way to do it, as I've seen firsthand, I won't spoil whether we got Kipsang Rotich's current day voice in The Force Awakens, but he is in there, whether it's from the old tapes from Return of the Jedi, cutscenes or not, doesn't matter. But we did learn that when that movie aired and when his lines in Kikuya came over the loudspeakers in the movie theater, it got the largest cheer. Actually, after that, I think slightly less of a cheer was Han Solo and Chewbacca first appearing, but the #1 cheer was their native dialect. So I would probably include more examples of that.
Something a similar experience for the crowd to share in.
Yeah, not just British and American and Kikuya, so for instance, South Korean, if it sounds right. But having said that, I do hope, in a way, and I'm faithful that they won't put in too many marketing plays.
Sure.
Star Wars has never needed that, has never been about that. And I know that this new franchise, and it's still under the same guidance of Lucasfilm as it always have been, are very sensitive to putting Star Wars first. Anything else is secondary. If it fits and it helps things, then great, put it in. But in a way, I hope they don't try too hard to do that. I'm confident they won't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think even the having the fight crew from, what was that film?
The Raid?
The Raid, yeah. Having them in the film, I'm sure added extra clout as well. Yeah.
I mean, you have to understand, it's a franchise, and yes, we love it as much as we do, but also it has to appeal, because those places are now becoming powers in the box office. Japan. I mean, Donnie Yen is going to China. All these places are being highlighted and touched on. Mads Mikkelsen is now in Rogue One. Like you're hitting into the Scandinavian countries. It's trying to touch base with it, but make it organic. And I think that's where they're being really smart about it. Because yes, it has to feel like all these people are involved, because all these people might be involved and might survive and might be in space and might have these situations occur to them. So it's almost countryless. It's more planet, much more about planets, right? And I think that's what's galaxy-wide, exactly. And that's what I think is so enjoyable about what they're doing now, is they're being more inclusive. They're focusing on diversity. Even JJ said that Oscar's not so white, or whatever, Oscar's so white controversy really opened his eyes to the diversity that needs to be, and I think that's a positive effect. It doesn't mean that you shoehorn it in.
No.
It means you make it organic and you make it purposeful, because yes, we're all going to be there in space in some form or another, and so why not? Why not make it more inclusive? That's the whole Star Wars thing, is to accept and be inclusive. I mean, look at all the different creatures and different species that are Jedi. It's supposed to be that way.
Absolutely,
I agree.
Yeah, I think getting other ethnicities in is definitely a positive. I worked recently on the new Independence Day movie.
Oh.
I have a small cameo as a fighter pilot, and there was a beautiful actress there. Turned out her name is Angela Baby, one word.
Oh.
So Angela Baby is a model from China, and she plays another pilot.
Right.
So I think having seen that work in The Force Awakens, the diversity, I feel like it's permeating now through other franchises. And hey, isn't that a positive thing? It's Star Wars affecting the landscape yet again.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever stop.
Nope.
No. Well, we thank you so much, Kristian, for spending some time with us. We'd love to have you back on again sometime.
Absolutely. It was a sincere pleasure, and I always enjoy talking about the Force.
Thanks, Kristian. Good talking to you, man.
Take care. See you
Take
later.
care.
That was
Wow,
fun.
That was such a
That was great.
blast.
It was also really calming.
Yes, he has that voice. Trust me, I work with him, and so when he starts talking to you, you're like, anything he's saying, you start to agree with.
Does he
You're
do
like,
that?
Wait, no.
Does he do that with the public? Like, is he that calm when he?
Oh, when he does the Harry Potter stuff?
Yeah.
No. He's a little more, because you have to be a little more magical.
Yeah.
But when he gets intimate, it's real powerful to see him get quiet when he's doing the stuff with the wands. So it's always amazing.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So we were starting to get into the quote unquote Asian market.
Yes.
I totally agree with everything that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting though the lengths that Disney went to appeal to that market. In the picture we showed at the top of the segment, on the right of it was a Chinese singer named Lu Han, who is essentially their Justin Bieber.
Wow.
There was a song a pop song to promote the film called "Feel the Force," where it's just a little bit of him as a Jedi, and that's actually a still from the video.
Okay.
Just in classic Jedi garb, and the other one is him in modern dress. Like it's half him doing Force stuff, or I would say a third of him in Jedi dress, a third of him in modern dress, and in the last third is just clips from the movie. Wow. And it was just a way to use their biggest pop culture icon to push this. That's the equivalent of when the original Star Wars was coming out.
Yeah.
I would say, like, let's get the Jackson 5. Let's get them to do a song to promote this weird space movie.
Even Elvis, maybe.
Elvis
He was still making music back then, so yeah.
That would be ridiculous. And
1976,
the same thing actually happened with K-pop. There was a K-pop band called EXO that had a song called Lightsaber that they even that they released in Korea, and then they even translated into Japanese to work as JK-pop. I suppose
I want a
KJ
part of
pop.
that.
Yeah, it's a fun video. It's like if it was Star Wars in the modern world, and they're going around different parts of the world where it's like no lightsabers accepted in the bar. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a new style. If you haven't heard any K-pop, it will definitely be an awakening, a different type of awakening. I also found it interesting. One of the biggest Asian markets aside from China, India, isn't huge into Star Wars as an entire country. Historically they have not done very well, but there's a little bit more of we're kind of forcing our American culture and as a world being a fan of it, as England being a fan of it and bringing it to India and et cetera, et cetera. It's just becoming soon it will be hard to escape. The world of Star Wars,
and it shouldn't be hard to escape because it's like I said, we've talked about it numerous times. It's about inclusion, it's about exploration, it's about finding the better parts of your nature, and it's about redemption. And so there's all of that just crosses country lines, and makes it very much a universal property and universal franchise. I think it's great.
What are some things that you think? Because we're already getting what location? Oh no, never mind. We're getting to that later in the show. I'm getting way ahead of myself because that's going to be our duel when we do it. But before we get to that, where do you live in the world? We know that we have some international fans.
Yes.
So please do us a favor, leave us a comment on our YouTube page on how Star Wars got into your life, how your parents got interested in Star Wars. Because my fiance's mother's from Sweden and just. It hugely like one of the biggest Star Wars fans. She bought every Kenner thing twice, so we got that to look forward to. One to open, one to put away.
Yes, always. That's smart. Yes,
that's the way you do it. So it became a family thing for me. Some of my earliest memories are watching Return of the Jedi at home. Right. So it becomes a part of us. We want to know how it became a part of your life. So leave us a comment, leave us a rating on iTunes. We are on iTunes. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're on iTunes. If you're listening to us to iTunes, we're on YouTube. Who knew? Leave us a rating, leave us a comment, and make sure to subscribe to us. We would love to hear from you.
I want to give a quick shout out to David Donovan, Dave Donovan, at David75 Donovan, one of my Twitter followers. I don't know if he follows you as well, Mark, or the show, but he went to Skellig Michael Island and he took a bunch of pictures and sent it to us, sent it to me on and tweeted it to me and connected to his Facebook page. 75 pictures of him walking around Skellig Michael Island. So like we do correspond with our fans from all over the world. Like we want to correspond with you, talk with you. We'll give you shout outs if you send us something pretty amazing. We're such fans.
We'll post a couple of them on the Facebook page.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put a few.
And that also relates back to this is a part of our world, and by relating it to Star Wars, we become a part of the Star Wars world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is just mind blowing. So speaking of minds, let's go to Mind Probe.
Boom.
That's our segment where we go onto Facebook, we post up our Mind Probe segment, and you leave us questions to talk about on the show. It's just that simple. Make sure to like us on Facebook at Jedi Alliance. Let's start with a question that you picked out, sir.
Okay, we got one from Ashley Brooks. I so want to read this. It's going to be so much fun. She goes, "Ooh, this is exciting. How about discussing your thoughts on an epic Talon Card film?" I hope I'm saying that right. That would make an awesome Star Wars political thriller as Card seeks to take over the remains of the Hutt Empire quietly and decisively. There's a lot of exclamation points on this comment.
Yeah, I count at least 9.
Bounty hunters, schemes, and scandal abound. Card has to be one of the most interesting characters out there, and then she had a smile emoticon. Also a shout out to Sarah Gessel, who liked this idea of Talon Card as well. What do you think, Mark?
Well, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I haven't read the entire saga that is Talon Card.
Yes.
But I think he would be a worthy focal point to focus on. Maybe not at the beginning of his career, but maybe at the end of his career, at the end of the Galactic Civil War. I think that would be a fun. This could be a part of the. This could be a part of the network. This could be one of the first network films.
Oh yes, the network.
A real seedy underbelly of the world, but still very political.
Yeah, and it touches on so many characters. You have Luke Skywalker, you have Thrawn, you have Lando Calrissian, you have Mara Jade. All these people are in his universe, in his wake, and so it would bring in multiple generations of fans. So it would be a smart move because he's such a fascinating and interesting character, and because he's known for his honesty in a world of espionage and smuggling and all these kind of things. Yeah,
I think he would be a great character for Rebels.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, if there's talk of Thrawn in Rebels season 3, why can there not be Talon Card
absolutely.
in season 3?
That's
I totally
great.
agree with you.
I love that.
I'm gonna go. Mary Sharp asks, possible episode 8 spoiler? Not really, but mostly just speculation on her part. But could Laura Dern be playing non-Lady Carice Sindian from Bloodline?
Wow.
Now there is a note here. Claudia Gray was picturing Jamie Chung while writing, so that brings in the Asian market a little bit more.
Sure.
But I think she could be playing any one of the other politicians in the Senate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's certainly possible. I mean, people are already commenting, who she could be. I agree with that. Absolutely in the Senate or someone of power, because Laura Dern has that esteem now. She has that kind of presence now on screen. So why not? She's always been very good at playing the subdued power, like sitting on it, but then unleashing it when she needs to.
She could be the first senator.
She could absolutely be the first senator. Why not? I love
what
this
party
idea.
would she be?
I think she'd be
populist.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd be a centrist.
No, I don't think so either. Let's go to your other questions.
Oh yeah, all right. So then we have one from David Fable. Will Episode 8 be a film of pairs? Luke training Rey, Finn and Poe on a mission, and Chewie looking after Leia as she involves herself in a political issue, as Leia is bound to do. What do you think, Mark?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a comment on the rule of 2 and how the Sith Order will change moving forward, as well as what the Jedi can learn from the Sith in a positive way.
Right.
Yeah.
I think David left off another pair, which is Snoke and Kylo Ren. There's going to be that going on, right? And then we still have R2D2 and C3PO. There's what are those pair? What is that pair going to do? We have no idea. But yeah.
Or what if it's Finn and a new character, Poe and BB-8? Like
there we go.
BB. Don't forget droids, people.
I mean, they're creatures too, I guess. Entities too, whatever you want to say. What's yours, Mark?
They're people.
Yes.
So we got this question a little while ago, but it's a quick answer. Albert Wright, what happened to Obi-Wan's lightsaber? Any word of it in any books, comics, fan stuff? As far as I know, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Yeah, so like people were talking, it might have been captured and the crystals replaced or moved around or hidden, but that's all speculation.
Yeah, no, it was just left on the Death Star.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all we got.
That seems to me like a perfect thing to create a film or a piece of the film around, trying to get that lightsaber. Why not? I mean, Luke, what we hear about with Luke is that he was on with, and we find out in Bloodline that he was on these things with Kylo, going to places and finding old artifacts, finding old Jedi artifacts. Why would he not want to go back and find Obi-Wan's lightsaber? That just makes so much sense. So you have a plot point that could possibly come into play later on down the road.
So yeah, I think if anything, something that they could have commented about in the Darth Vader comic was Vader taking the lightsaber and keeping it as a memento of Anakin Skywalker, and that along with finding out about Luke could have been the transition back into Anakin.
Yeah, absolutely.
It lost opportunity, but it's still a strong piece of storytelling. It still has a lot of stories behind it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thank you everybody for asking these questions.
Yes.
If you go to facebook.com Jedi Alliance, give us a like. We're gonna post a new round of these this week. That's also where we post our weekly Duel of the Fates. That is when we ask a question of you, the audience, and we get a poll from you, see how you feel. It's a wonderful time. Some questions are fun, some questions are serious, like this last one. Not too serious.
Yeah, come on.
Do you think Phasma is a double agent? Now, ultimately, most of you said no, which, okay, we understand. But I liked how some of you said neither. How she had a third party or bounty hunter affiliation.
Oh my gosh.
Let's switch off reading some of these.
Sure.
So Jacqueline Oostmeyer, I think she's just much more interesting as an antagonist since there's far too few female Darksiders as it is. Think about it. Someone who makes a suit of armor out of Palpatine's Naboo yacht must be a fanatic.
Certainly logical reasoning.
Totally.
Sluice Friggin says, I would rather her stay bad, but go rogue with a personal mission against Finn. Maybe with different armor or no mask at all. I'm a fan of that. I like Gwendolyn Christie. And for the love of the Force, please give Brienne of Tarth a fight scene this time. Could not agree more. Absolutely.
And it's got to be hand-to-hand.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't even say, like, weapon. I literally mean just punch each other. And
yeah.
Like, you punch me, I punch you until somebody falls.
Right.
That different type of force. But I've always been a fan ever since the end of the movie of it's just going to be her single track mind against Finn to get her revenge for ruining.
Maybe that's part of the mind probe too.
Maybe it is.
That's a pair right there, Finn and her.
There we go.
Boom.
Patrick Barman responded, no, but I think she is a third-party player. She was brought in by the First Order to bring order to the military, and when she was being held at Blaster Point, she realized that she wasn't being paid enough by the First Order to risk her life for them. Because let's face it, General Hux seems like he's a tightwad. I don't know if Kylo Ren would agree with you, but yeah, he might. So thank you for those answers. Make sure to give us an answer. We're going to post this tomorrow. Our question for this week.
Yes.
The end of episode 7 / beginning of episode 8 seems to be taking advantage of the worldly beauty of Ireland for an iconic look. What world landmark do you want to see utilized in the Star Wars universe? Pictures and backstories are a plus. Of course, there is Tunisia, which still stands as a monument today, and they went back and used for episode 1. And Skellig Michael is just gorgeous. Yeah. If they wanted, like, Ireland's like, please push tourism to Northern Ireland, as if you didn't want to go to a beautiful country that is Ireland. What is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
I have 2 answers.
Yeah,
Stonehenge and Greece. The way Greece, I think you can make Greece kind of like a version of Tatooine. You can make that work. That kind of the buildings pushed together right on the coast of the water. It could be a port city on some planet. That could absolutely work for me. The beauty of Greece, and absolutely Stonehenge. If you want to go real mystical with the Jedi, with the Order, with what have you. If you're going to create a third version like we've talked about on the show, something that's not the Force and not the Siths, what could you create there that would be part of the Force?
The Force equivalent of druids.
Yes, basically, yes.
Yeah, that's killer.
Children of the forest.
And that explains how they stacked them all on top of each other. It's the final trial.
Kaboom!
Oh God, I like that a lot. And I like Greece a lot too. That could be like a new form of a Naboo type of destination city. I think Machu Picchu, of course.
Oh, Machu Picchu is a great choice.
Could be used.
Yeah.
I know they're looking at certain cave locations in Mexico.
Okay.
But Tenochtitlan. Yeah. Okay. Brain. I said it right.
You did.
I think any sort of older civilization that can be used that may not be super iconic,
right,
but still has a chance. It's going to be gorgeous either way, because the way that they're shooting Skellig Michael, the way the end of episode 7 looked, and the way that episode 8 is looking right now, it's going to be gorgeous, and we're going to get some awesome art out of it. I do know that. So why don't you let us know what you think? We're going to be posting this question tomorrow on our Facebook page at Jedi Alliance. This is a fun show. This is fun.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited that we got a fantastic guest in Kristian Simpson to talk about not only finding Nine Num, which y'all gotta read.
There we go.
If you haven't read
the article.
StarWars.com. I believe it's called The Road to Rotich, Finding Nine Num.
Yeah.
There's part 1 and part 2. So much fun. Okay, so what do you got? What do you want to promote until next week? Mr. Rocha.
Yeah, guys, you can always follow me at The Rocha Says. That's where you see all the shows I host, like this one, or co-host, and you see all the shows that I'm a guest on, and all the appearances I do on multiple other networks for their game shows or their fights shows, what have you. You know, Roxy hosts TV fights. I'll occasionally be on that sometimes, and on movie fights, and on the Schmodown. So those are those things you can follow me on and follow. I am doing a couple of other projects that I'm going to be announcing soon, so that's going to be awesome.
How's your podcast coming?
The podcast is coming on really well. We are the top 10 podcast is in negotiations right now to possibly have a big announcement coming, which will be great.
Very cool.
But the Cinephiles, we should be hopefully launching later this week.
Awesome.
My co-host comes back into town from a 2-week trip with his wife and his family that he much deserved, and we're gonna hash out how we're gonna let this go, how we're gonna start off, and what episodes we're gonna start off with. So I'm looking forward to that very much. So.
Do you have a Twitter account for the?
Not yet. No, but we're going to set that up.
So The Rocha Says, make sure to keep an eye out on that.
Yes.
You've been talking about it a lot, and I'm actually really excited.
Thanks,
I mean,
Mark.
we have the Popcorn Talk, and we talk about movies all the time.
Yeah.
I love expounding upon movies. You're probably doing a lot better than we do on Video Game Movie Anatomy. But last week we did Doom, 2005's Doom.
Yes.
We had the folks from Action Movie Anatomy, Ben and Andrew. That was a lot of fun. And next week we're doing Angry Birds, because that just came out in theaters. So yeah, we like to punish ourselves. Make sure follow us at the Popcorn Talk on Twitter. Follow me at Mark B. Donica, and make sure to subscribe to us. If you like movies, we got stuff for everybody. We got action movies. We have Disney movie news, Marvel movie news, DC movie news, all sorts of stuff. Otaku Movie Anatomy, if you like anime films. We got a whole bunch of stuff here. If you're a Star Wars fan, make sure to tune in right here every Monday at 2 p.m. But until then, thank you for watching and or listening to Jedi Alliance. You can visit popcorntalk.com to find a nice list of all of our past episodes of Jedi Alliance and links to both YouTube and iTunes. Please also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Jedi Alliance for all of the us-related news. This has been Jedi Alliance on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies. Thank you for listening, because many Bothans died to bring us this information.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.